angry. But then he realized how deeply in love Ranjha was, and how desperate. Moved to pity, Gorkha Nath blessed Ranjha and prayed that he would achieve his desire. At Ranjha's request, a beggar monk, Gorakh Nath, sent forth his crow to search for young beautiful village girl Heer. The crow flew from town to town, from house to house, until it arrived in Rangpur and found young beautiful village girl Heer, wasting away inside a Kara's house. After telling Heer of Ranjha's faithfulness, yes, the bird talked, the crow returned to Tilla, bringing the news back to Ranjha. Ranjha made his way to Rangpur, disguised as a jogi, begging at each village on the way. When he arrived in Rangpur, all the women noticed this beautiful young jogi and flocked to him. They poured out their troubles with their in-laws, their husbands, their neighbors. Ranjha listened to it all and counseled the women, while he searched for the Kara household. When he found the right house, he knocked on the door, pretending to beg for alms. Heer's sister-in-law Seti answered. Watching Heer's and Ranjha's reactions when they saw each other, Seti quickly figured out who this handsome jogi really was. She agreed to help them if they would help her escape to her lover, a Balochi camel driver named Murad. Heer and Seti hatched a plan. Heer cut her own foot as the two women walked in the garden and pretended that she had been bitten by a snake. Seti told the family that there was a wise jogi staying in the village and convinced Saida, Heer's husband, to bring the jogi to the house to cure Heer. Saida agreed. The lovers reunited as Ranjha cured Heer of the snake bite. After a few weeks, the couple planned their escape. Seti asked to go with them and begged Ranjha to help her find Murad. Ranjha blew on his conch. The sound reached out, far and wide, and Murad heard it as he slept. He dreamt that Seti called him, asking him to come to her. When he woke, Murad set out at once for Rangpur. On a Sunday night in June, the three escaped. They met Murad, who put Seti on his camel. The two of them escaped over the river Chenab, while Heer and Ranjha fled to Kabula, the city where Raja Adali ruled. The next morning, one of Heer's maids told the family what had happened, and the Kara men set off to find them. They caught up to Murad and Seti, but the couple had made it safely back to Murad's people, and the Balochi forces drove back the Kara pursuers. Heer and Ranjha weren't so lucky. The Karas captured them and beat Ranjha unmercifully, then brought him before Raja Adali, demanding that Ranjha be put to death. Heer's uncle Kaidu also came to testify against Ranjha, but Chuchak testified that he had betrothed Heer to Ranjha. In the court, said Chuchak, "I tell no lies. Before 70 Khans and 72 nobles, I gave Heer to Ranjha. Ranjha grazed my buffaloes for 12 years and took no pay at all from me. My brethren thrust him away, and seizing Heer married her to the Karas. If there be a lie in this ass here, she is in thy court. If there be a lie in this, may I be punished in the court of God." So Adali called Heeran to testify. When she walked into the court, unveiled, Adali saw how beautiful she was and lost his head. Said Adali to Ranjha, "Thou too art a liar. Heer was first of all betrothed to me," and he took Heer away to his palace. Heer prayed to God for protection, and when Adali tried to come to her bed that night, he burst into flames. Luckily, he managed to douse himself with water and save himself. Ranjha also called out to heaven, playing his flute. Heaven heard. The sound of the flute reached to Mecca, and a company of 70 saints came up. The sound of the flute reached to Multan, and the 5 saints came in majesty. At the sound of the flute came Saki Sarwar the warrior, galloping up on his mare Kaki. The army cut down the garden of Adali and left not a tree remaining. All the saints collected, took burning logs, and set fire to Adali's city. Burning went Adali into the reservoirs, and water was thrown over the people. And when the water reached the fire, it blazed forth twofold. The Raja's advisors told him to restore Heer Ranjha, to save the city. So Raja Adali sent for Ranjha and agreed to marry him here. Then Ranjha blew on his conch. When Ranjha sounded his conch, Indra caused rain, and all the people in Adali city lived in happiness. Ranjha and Heer came together, for God favored them. Raja Adali did justice and turned away his face from bribes. Kaidu and his kinsmen plot to kill young beautiful village girl Heer. The family talks the couple into having a proper wedding in Jang, girl Heer's hometown. Ranjha returns to Takht Hazara to fetch his family for the Bharat. The Sahils bring Heer back to Jang, ostensibly for the wedding. Instead, they quietly poison her. One version says they gave her poison laddu, a sticky sweet dessert often served at weddings. When Ranjha realizes that Heer is dead, he eats the rest of the poison laddu and dies too. I picked this version because it reminded me of many of the loving, liberal-minded fathers in Rabindranath Tagore's short stories, fathers who spoil their daughters by educating them and generally treating them like human beings rather than chattel. Unfortunately, these fathers are also usually too weak to protect their daughters from the oppressive expectations of the patriarchal society of the time. Like Chuchak, they give in to the pressure from the rest of the family and marry off their daughters into unsuitable, unhappy marriages. So my version isn't just a victory for the two pairs of lovers, it's a victory for these fathers as well.